Okay, we're here with Michael Wolf, co-founder and managing director of Activate at IAB Innovation Days at Internet Week. He just got off the stage speaking about hacking the organization, and one of the things you talked about is you called for a redefining of you called for publishers to really redefine themselves. Can you talk a little bit to start about what that means?
If you take a look at where the growth in the media business is likely to come from, a lot of it's going to come from new businesses, and it's going to come from new areas. And so publishers are going to need to really consider how they can redefine their business for the future, or they're going to expect somebody else is going to come along and redefine the business for them. And a lot of that redefinition is going to begin with content. It's going to be about revaluing content. Up until now, in terms of display, anybody could be in the display business. It didn't take much. Whatever kind of content you had, whatever was on your site, you could put in display ads. Today, the world is going to change, and it's going to be much, much more about being adjacent to high-quality content.
What are some of the elements to making this change? You talked about less inventory, higher quality content.
Well, it's time, as I said in my speech, it's time for display to go on a diet. And first of all, it's less. Most pages are really surrounded by too much in terms of too many ads, too many places on the page where an ad is calling out for the user's attention. The second thing is that it's really cutting back on cookies. We've gotten dependent on cookies, but we can see that the world could change very quickly in the same way that Flash was a dominant platform, yet with the introduction of the iPad, that Flash became less important. With some of the things that could happen in terms of do not follow, in terms of the browsers giving you the ability to decide to opt out of cookies, we could find that cookies could very quickly become something that's less effective. And the third thing is just cutting out junk. That so many sites have a lot of advertising that really doesn't belong there. And so a lot of publishers are using remnant when they can't sell display. And the problem with that is twofold. First of all, it's saying to your user, you really don't care what type of ad goes alongside your content, so it devalues the content. The second thing is that part of your site is branded or in some ways characterized by the worst, the lamest, the ugliest, really the most embarrassing ad unit that comes from a network. And you've ended up devaluing your content and devaluing the ad space.
A lot of the changes you're talking about sound like they would include a lot of risk for a publisher. Less inventory, less ads, less higher quality content, less content, less cookie reliance, lower CPMs. What do you suggest publishers do to sort of start taking the first step and mitigate these risks?
First of all, a lot of this is going to happen whether or not publishers like it or not, because if they don't do it, somebody come and create a new site which doesn't rely on cookies or has a better advertising and better content environment. I think the second thing is if you look to the examples of traditional media where less inventory has been able to create more valuable inventory because scarcity is important. Right now, we've created an environment of abundance. There isn't a publisher you could speak to that doesn't see the CPMs on their sites decreasing. They're adding more advertising. So I think publishers are going to have to look at this from a medium term. If you're venture funded, it may make it a little bit easier because the people who are paying will understand what you're doing. If you're a big company, you've got to realize that things are going to have to go down before they go up again. And some of these changes are going to be inevitable. You're not going to have a choice.
These changes also sound like they will force the game to change for ad networks. How do you foresee ad networks sustaining this development?
Ad networks need to become true networks of quality versus a place to just buy remnant. And in a lot of cases, publishers have been hooked on the drug of ad networks. They've needed ad networks in order to be, ad networks have sort of been like a hamburger helper for the core advertising. And ad networks have the opportunity to deliver a lot of value, but it's going to be about, that value is going to be sites that are in fact have high quality content.
Great. And, you know, the more I listened to you speak, the more I heard you describing the media environment of 10, 15 years ago, you know, limited inventory, high quality, beautiful Vogue ads, and really quality content. As the last question for the Future of Display conference, is the future of display actually more like traditional old media?
I think that the publishers can learn from what traditional media has been able to do, which is to create an environment where they're selling high quality content for branding versus just for direct marketing. And I think we're going to see the early days of the web. We've all been around direct marketing. I show an ad and it's directly related to a sale. The next wave is going to be about big advertisers who are going to view display as a medium in which they can create brands. It's not just about the person who clicked on your ads, it's actually about the people who didn't click and what that ad did for them. And that's very similar to what happens in traditional media.
Great. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.